Hello and welcome to a brief overview about onion routing and how it can enhance privacy and security, as well as some of its shortcomings and vulnerabilities. Now, this isn't going to be a very technical explanation. There's far better videos out there about people really going into the nitty-gritty about how it works, but this video isn't that. So what is onion routing? It's a layered encryption method. Now the most active form of it, TOR, uses 3 layers, and the more layers you have, the better the privacy, but the worse the speed, so 3 is a nice compromise between that. We can see here the general structure of how it works. You have the client sending to a server, and then the layered encryption here. So, who can see your data? Your ISP, for one, can see it, as well as any requests they get for that data. This is because your connection isn't obfuscated. Now, there are certain methods like bridges which attempt to obfuscate it, but that's a whole nother can of worms. But in general, it is known that you will be connecting to Tor. Now, the data is encrypted, but they will see that you are sending some amount of data. The entrance node can see your IP directly, but again, it doesn't know what you're sending. Exit nodes are the real dangerous one, though, because they send unencrypted data to the destination. However, the data is anonymized because it routes through nodes beforehand. So let's go through a step-by-step of how traffic works, as well as any issues that may be here. So at the source, you initialize a connection. Your router, assuming this is a client-server setup where you have a standard user connecting, your router will see you're connecting to Tor, and maybe your ISP doesn't like that. Maybe you're in China, they don't like that, etc., whatever. Your traffic is encrypted 3 times, really. I won't go over the connection protocol, but it will be triple encrypted when it hits the entry relay. The entry point can see you connected to it. Then the entry relay sends off the packet to the middle relay, which is double encrypted. The middle relay is a very safe setup. It only knows that there's a relay behind it and ahead of it, and it really doesn't know anything. Very simple and secure and safe. Then the encrypted traffic from this is sent to the exit. As you can see, each time we lose a layer of encryption, that's the core of onion routing. But you can see the exit point, it sends unencrypted data to the destination. It doesn't know who's sending it, but it does know the data you're sending. So you do kind of have to trust that the exit relay is being honest. And of course the destination, you don't know exactly what it's doing. It could be logging all of the data. It could be trying to set up attacks. We'll get into that in a bit. But of course you have to be careful with where you're connecting to. So vulnerabilities. The first is a bad exit node. These can see all of the data being sent unencrypted. Very dangerous, and is why exit nodes aren't very common to be hosted, simply because they're very big liability. Now the workaround is to use end-to-end encryption, or just avoid sending sensitive information like personally identifiable things. These two can really help mitigate this vulnerability entirely. There's correlation attacks also, which is tracing patterns of how you use Tor in order to de-anonymize you. Now, these attacks are generally very difficult to perform. You need a lot of data and a general idea, first of all. So really only big governments can pull off these, but it's not possible. So the workaround for this is don't make habits. If you're connecting, let's say, every day at 5 p.m. local time to a particular address, that's going to be pretty traceable, so you should avoid falling into patterns. Another thing you should avoid is data streaming. First of all, TOR is a very poor idea for streaming because it's really slow, but even if it wasn't, it's very identifiable simply because it's a continual stream of data coming in and out of an address. So you shouldn't do that either, as well as avoiding downloads, especially big downloads, because the longer you spend sending continuous data, the easier it gets to correlate it with you in particular. And of course, we can't gloss over malicious websites. You don't really know what a website's going to be doing with your information. So obviously just be careful. And you shouldn't necessarily just trust a site because they seem reputable, especially if it's on a hidden network. You never know what you're getting into. And of course, there's user error. This is the biggest vulnerability of all. This is not being able to keep secrets, for one, and also OPSEC failures. There's some pretty good examples of that, of people just fumbling the bag when they could have gone away with using it, but, maybe it's a good thing considering what they're doing. So the workaround is just don't be an idiot. I mean, there's not much more to say. Just be careful, especially if you're going to be doing illicit things, which you shouldn't do. You shouldn't. Alright? But if you are, don't be an idiot. But let's be real, you are going to be anyways, so